This is Seth. He loves climbing, bouncing with his brother on the trampoline, and playing baseball with his dad.
All right, you ready?
One day, his mom noticed something was wrong.
His neck was very swollen. Get to the doctor, and she looked at him for 3 minutes, and she said, you need to get to the hospital immediately. That was scary. They did the CAT scan, and I remember they came back and said, well, it's a good thing we did this.
Seth had an infection in his neck. This doesn't happen very often.
And we need to transfer you now. You're admitted to the hospital. He can't eat at this point. They might do surgery tonight. His fever was going up real fast. He was real miserable. The doctor came in and said, you also should know that we saw a blood clot on the CAT scan.
A blood clot means that blood can't move around in the body like it normally does. A blood clot isn't like getting a cold or catching the flu. It doesn't happen to many people.
And he said, but we'll have to deal with that after surgery. You can't deal with that before. And I remember thinking, blood clots, seems kind of big.
Seth was rushed to surgery, where doctors fixed the problem with his neck. He would still have to stay in the hospital for days. One of those days, a baseball team came by to visit.
They were helping kids make crafts to make them feel better. We stayed a long time, and it was really fun.
A few days later, Seth was sent home. He still had a blood clot, so the family found out that they'd have to give him shots.
Help clear the blood clot away. Hopefully it would make it smaller and smaller and eventually make it disappear. But it would require a shot in the morning and a shot in the night, every day, 7:30, no fail. And that was intimidating because we had to learn how to give shots. Every time he got a shot, he would get a bruise. And so anytime he'd run, anytime he'd do anything,
They got sore,
his legs would get real sore. He would limp a lot when he was running or walking because it hurt.
Seth had to be very careful when he was on this special medicine. He felt powerless.
At recess, I couldn't play any sports. I couldn't do a thing. I couldn't play on the jungle gym. And I hated not being able to climb things. That was my favorite activity in the world.
Seth had to trust in God's power. In the Bible, the book of Ephesians says, "This is the same mighty power that raised Christ from the dead." God's power got Seth through a hard time. A few days later, the family went to see the baseball team that visited Seth while he was at the hospital.
I have a glove with them all signed, and I have a helmet with it all signed. I really loved it.
It's so amazing how God puts people in our lives to help with hard times. After weeks of treatment, Seth went to the doctor for a checkup.
They did an ultrasound of his neck, and they saw there was no clot left, which was miraculous in and of itself. And they said, you're good to go. You don't need to do any more shots. You can go home and you're shots free.
Seth is now back to playing, running, and climbing. And his family is very thankful that God healed him. Remember, when you're powerless, Jesus rescues.